What's going on, you guys? My name is Mike Hilario. Some of you may know me as Slim. Those of you that don't, I too have a YouTube channel. Hopefully, whoever's channel you're watching this on, they linked it down below. This past weekend at the San Jose, California Regionals, there was about 400 people, 9 rounds. I ended up going 7-2, not with the typical deck. I did not play Thunder Dragons. I did not play Sky Strikers. I didn't play Orcust. I didn't play Salamangreat. I didn't play any of the decks that are the quote-unquote meta decks of the format. What I did play was Danger World FTK. That's right, you guys, Danger World FTK. And for those of you that don't know what that is, and if this video sounds interesting, well, let's get into it. What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. I know that was awful. Can't do it like you, John, but first and foremost, thank you for the upload. As you guys already know, like I told you in the little intro, this weekend in the San Jose Regionals, I played Arcana Force XX1 The World FTK/OTK. Yeah, this deck was insane. I played this deck because a very close friend of mine actually lent me this Ultimate First Edition Arcana the World, and he wanted me to play it, and I promised him that I would as soon as I got the chance to. I missed the last San Jose Regionals, but this next one that came up, I kept my word. I played it, and it worked out pretty well. I ended up going 7-2 at the end of 9 rounds, over 400 players, and yeah, only player in the room playing this deck. No one really knew what the deck did, and yeah, the deck was insane. I'm going to get into it, explain the cards that are in it, and then of course go over my matches real quick. But it's definitely a reason to warrant why there's 3-star uses in this game and why there's so many dangers in this game. And yeah, it was nuts, but let's get into it. So the win condition of the deck is of course the Boss Man and Light Barrier. So the Boss Man is Arcana Force XXX1 The World, and his effect is whenever he's summoned, so that means special summoned off of Saryuja, special summoned from the graveyard, tribute summoned by tributing 2 monsters. Whenever he is summoned, you toss a coin, and if the result is heads during the end phase, I send 2 monsters on my field to the just send 2 monsters on my field to the graveyard, and I skip my opponent's turn. If the result is tails during my opponent's draw phase, they add the top card of their graveyard to their hand. Now, what Light Barrier says is basically the quick version is that when I summon an Arcana monster, it lets me just decide to call heads. Literally, I summon world, declare heads, I get to skip my opponent's turn. And that's basically what I did all weekend. I skipped my opponent's turn whenever I went first and was able to get to this combo. And also, even if I didn't get to the combo with Light Barrier, like if I didn't see Light Barrier, I could just summon the world and I could, flip a coin and try to get lucky. The deck is pretty much a gamble because you're playing a bunch of dangers and everything, but you also can summon this card multiple times off of Saryujas. You play 3 Saryujas. Technically, you can make a 4th one by bouncing it with Unicorn back to the deck. And yeah, I gambled a couple times and I hit heads. I missed it the first time, and then I linked away with it, resummoned it with my Reborn or my World Legacy Succession, got heads, skipped the opponent's turn, and I won. So it's pretty cool. So those are the win condition, like the main win condition of the deck. This card is insane. Yeah, so what else could I say? And then the reason why the deck is so consistent is because we play dangers, and we play a lot of dangers. I'll start with the base 9. You guys already know, Nessie, Jackalope, and Snake. These are the best ones. They pretty much guarantee a monster almost every time. And basically the whole point of my deck is to put a bunch of monsters on the field, make Saryujas. I also have the ability to make Nyarla and Azathoth in this deck, because I do play the 4s. I play the Chupacabra and the Mothmans. What can I say? Like, whenever I get the chance to make Azathoth, I'm doing it, because once Azathoth hits the board, none of the hand traps work on me. The only card that works is Infinite Impermanence. So, you know, I put them on Better Habit, and even if they do have an Impermanence, I can still play through it. It hasn't been hard. I've been Impermanenced on Skull Dreads and been able to just make another one and just keep playing. And, you know, you got to have all the hand traps in the world sometimes to stop this deck. And most people in 5 cards, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, these danger cards are nuts. Along with the base 9 and the good 4s, I also played 8s. I played 2 Bigfoot, 2 Thunderbird, and 2 Ogopogo. So originally I had a build that was 45 cards, and I was maxing out on all of these, along with 3 Trade-In, which is a card I actually played in my deck that a lot of people don't play in danger decks, and except if they're playing like the Blue Eyes deck. And to me that was kind of crazy, because Trade-In with these cards is just nuts, and it was nuts all weekend. It just helped me, you know, filter through my deck. Sometimes going second, it was nuts. Even going first, this card is good because it's a Foolish Burial for danger cards, and it, you know, just fuels beginning of the end. So these cards are really good all weekend, plus they're huge, so resummoning them and having Wee Witch's Apprentice makes them gigantic, and it just runs over everything. And a lot of times, you know, you're not going to get the OTK off. You know, you might just not get to the world, or you might not get to Light Barrier. So what you do is you just put a bunch of monsters on the board, and you just attack, and it's usually game because the monsters are just gigantic. So it was nuts. These cards were all good, plus with cards in my side deck, these cards get even better. So I was really happy with my danger count. It was 21 dangers. I didn't play Dogman. I think that card is awful. There was a build, you know, shout out to my brother Akeem Davis. He almost topped YCS Chicago playing the world, and originally we were playing that card at 3 along with the 3 Nessie to make Draco Sec since we lost Galaxy Tomahawk, but I just didn't like that card. I felt it was inconsistent. I felt like even though it did produce tokens, it didn't do enough for the deck, and I decided to just cut it all together and then just play the 8s and then you know, boost it up with better draw cards. So I was very happy with the result. I didn't have any dead dangers in my hand that I ever wanted to not hit or have summon, so it was fine. So I played 21 dangers. Then for the support cards, I got more draw cards. I got 3 Brow. I mean, this card is nuts. It just lets me draw 2. It's like a Pot of Greed. If it gets sniped while you're doing danger stuff, you draw 2 cards. Card is just really nice. And then best normal summon in the deck, Phantom Skyblaster. I saw this card a lot, and the reason I saw this card a lot is you guys can see I'm drawn through my whole deck. It's very similar to like the Danger FTK that played Cannon Soldier and Grapha and Firewall, and it's similar to the Slash Draw FTK. You just draw through your whole deck. You make a bunch of Saryujas. You fix, you know, you put cards to the bottom you don't need, and you just go try to draw into your win condition. And going second, you know, this card is even better because you don't even have to make Saryuja. You just make a bunch of Link monsters and just kill your opponent. So it was really crazy. This card at 1 is still insane. Especially in this deck, since you're always drawing through it, you'll most likely see it. And then I play the 1 Zephyros. Shout out to my boy Charles, being able to hook me up on the Ultra. Really hard to find an Ultra Zephyros, you guys. This card's really old. It only has 1 holo printing in Duelist Pack Crow, which came out eons ago. So yeah, this card was definitely an MVP. It's a 4 for Azathoth and Nyarla. Same thing with Skyblaster. But this card is really good because it lets you recycle your dangers by bouncing the 1 back to hand. It's also really good with the world because sometimes you have to summon the world early and you'll miss. Sometimes you'll get tails, and you really don't want tails. You never want to end your turn if you get tails. So you can bounce the world back, make another Saryuja, special it again, try again, you know, gamble again. And, you know, this card just does a lot for the deck. I really like this card. Definitely an MVP in the deck. And the last monster was Shaddoll Beast. It's just another Brow. It's another way to play. It's another way to play like just more draw cards. And I actually set it once during one of my rounds. I set it. My opponent attacked into it, and I drew 2 cards, discarded 1. One of them being a danger. And I mean, it was crazy. So yeah, this card's still really good in the deck. And yeah, so it's 28 monsters. You guys already saw the Light Barrier, and then the rest of the cards that makes this deck even more ridiculous. 3 beginning of the end. So I don't know what to say. This card says draw 3. It says if you have 7 or more darks in your grave, banish 5, draw 3. It's not once per turn. We play 27 dark monsters in this deck. There were games I did resolve all 3. Most games it was 1 or 2. And I actually did typically side 1 out because you can drawing this card early is not optimal because you guys know because you need to, you know, fill your graveyard. But overall, this was definitely an MVP. Shout out to my boy Monty for hooking me up on the Alties. I really wanted this card in Alti because it just looks so beautiful. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, this card is graceful charity, so it's insane. And then 3 Allure filters through the deck. And then the aforementioned 2 copies of Trade-In. This was a card that I didn't see a lot of people playing, and I was very surprised. The only person I saw playing this was Alan, aka Seto Kaiba, who plays Blue Eyes White Dragon religiously. They're one of the only decks I ever see that plays Trade-In because they play so many 8s. Well, I wanted to apply the same theory since Dangers are 8. You know, you play 6 level 8s, plus you play the world. A lot of people don't know, yeah, Bossman is actually an 8. And yeah, I thought for the longest time too that it was a 9. Looked at it again, oh crap, it's an 8. You know, and then trade it in. You know, you can reborn it later, get the effect off, and you know that's another way to to get the OTK off. So it was really solid. Shout out to my boy Ken Kuo for putting me onto this card. Really glad I played this card. It was definitely one of the best cards in my deck. Then the Reborn cards, I got World Legacy Succession and Monster Reborn. This is pretty self-explanatory. You know, they're just Reborn cards. This is only a hard once per turn, so I only played 1 and then Reborn. But you're digging through your entire deck. You play 40 cards, 21 upstarts, a bunch of draw cards. You're gonna see these cards. You know, opening them early is not ideal, but you just set them, and then you gamble with your dangers. But what I like about these two is, especially going second, these cards just put more pressure on the opponent, because once you make a Wee Witch's Apprentice, if you have any of your big dangers in the grave, you resummon them, and the game is just over. They're just huge. So yeah, so these cards are really, really good. And then I had to play card destruction. I mean, they wanted to bring this card back to 1. This card is nuts. It never got ashed. I usually force the ash on something else. I even had people ash my nesting, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to play the rest of my deck. Card destruction, you have no response. Okay, cool. I'm going to just draw through my whole deck. And card destruction also gives me info into what my opponent's playing, so I know how to side. So really, really good. So yeah, so it was a clean 40 cards. I didn't want to play anymore. I wanted to see my win condition. I wanted to, just be consistent with the deck, and it was very consistent. And yeah, it was insane. On to the extra deck. 3 Saryuja, 3, draw 4, because, this card is still at 3. It's kind of crazy. I know Danger Thunder abused this card, but we can do it better. Like, we can just play 3 Saryuja, technically 4, if we end up bouncing one back to our extra deck with Nightmare Unicorn. That's kind of like what the FTK did with Firewall. And yeah, this card, very, very cool. I love it. I mean, I know it's going to get hit eventually, but until it gets hit, I mean, I got Saryujas, I got a bunch of draw cards, I got Dangers, like, why not? And then Curious, another very important card in the deck. You usually use it to send Shaddoll Beast or to send Zephyros, but you can also send the World, depending on how your setup is. If you already have the monsters on the board, if you already have Light Barrier set or you have it in hand, you just make a Curious, because all the Dangers are different types. You can even make it after you make Azathoth and Nyarla and Azathoth. It fills the graveyard for beginning of the end, sends the World to the graveyard. You can reborn it and, flip your coin right there. If you have Light Barrier, just call heads, and, that's the OTK right there, FTK right there. So very, very solid. This card is definitely one of the best cards in the extra deck. And then the You Can't Play cards. One of the only decks that can still play them. I know Orcus can't play them because they're not playing the rank up spell anymore, because they can't. My deck can, because I just hard make it, and it's just really, really strong. So very happy that I'm able to play this, because it came in clutch very early in the tournament, and just even later on, because when I shut the opponent off from using hand traps and also going second, I can make it blanket their board, and then they don't get any other graveyard effects and everything, and I just push for game. And once this being a dark under Wee Witch's Apprentice makes it 2,900, which is huge. So this card was definitely insane. This is one of the few decks I feel that can still play Nyarla and Azathoth, so why would you not play them? And then the rest of the links. So Link Spider, it's for the Phantom Sky Blaster tokens. A 1-space insulator, this card's very important in the deck. It's a dark, it's Link utility. You can make it with tokens if need be. You can summon Sky Blaster, make it with the 2 tokens. It helps you go into your Curious plays. It's just a really good dark for, for the deck. And also, you link away with it. Again, it fills the graveyard for beginning of the end. Then Wee Witch's Apprentice was definitely probably... I know Saryuja and all these other cards sound so insane, but going second, this was the best card in my extra deck. This card was game every time I summoned it. Even in the last round, which I'll get to when I go to my matches, this card was ridiculous. It just gives all my darks 500, lowers all the light monsters on the field by 500. So basically, when I played against Trickstar, which I played against 2 of them, this card lowered their monsters by 400, boosted mine by 500, and I mean, I just, pushed it all in with the Dangers, so it was nuts. So definitely one of the best cards. If you're playing Dangers or any kind of dark deck, you should definitely play this card. Plus, it recycles a dark if it ever goes to the graveyard, so very solid. Then I played the Nightmares. I played all of them. They're all just really good. The only one I didn't play is Mermaid. It's not necessary in this deck, but I even played the Griffin too. The reason why I played all of them is because they're just good link utility, especially going second in this deck. Since you're discarding the Dangers, you get their effects. Usually you co-link under the Link Spider, and then you just keep going. You just keep, just fighting through whatever board they put up, drawing cards, discarding cards. You have more interruptions with the Dangers, and it was insane. Unicorn, very important for getting problematic monsters off the board. Also would give me the ability to spin back Saryuja to like they would in the FTK with Firewall, in case it got stopped. And Griffin was really solid. The plan with this was to, if Light Barrier hit the graveyard and World hit the graveyard, and we wanted to guarantee getting off the skip the opponent's turn, you could basically Griffin set the field spell, then make a Unicorn and spin it back to the deck, draw into it, and then activate it, then reborn or summon your World and do it again. It sounds complicated, but actually isn't as hard as you think once you get your Link monsters going. But there's also cards in the side deck that work really well with Griffin and Curious, so that's why I played it. And then the last 2 cards were the Borals. These cards were nuts. I actually never summoned Borreload, but I did summon Boral Sword in the very last game, in the very last turn of Swiss when I thought I lost, and this card went flat out, won me the game, and it was insane. You definitely should play these cards, especially going second, ripping into a board. So that's extra deck, and then just my side deck. Shout out to Johnny, you're never getting this field center back. Scanum Skyblaster token. Shout out to Joe Bogley, also one of the people who helped me with this deck a lot. Him, Akeem Davis, Ken Quo, you guys are the boys. Thank you so much for helping me with this deck, and I was really glad that I could play it for my friend Michael and do somewhat okay with it. So yeah, wanted real Skyblaster tokens, so thanks for that, Joe. Side deck 3 Lancia. This card is the god card against Orcish. You have to play it. It blankets also against Danger Thunder, Thunder Dragons in general, and is also really good against dinosaurs. There's a lot of dinosaurs at this tournament. I played 3 of them in 9 rounds, and yeah, this card just said no to, you know, basically to their pill and their miscellaneous banishes and all that stuff. And yeah, I beat all my dinosaur matches, so this card was definitely MVP, and I beat 1 out of my 2 Orcus in round 9 with this card. So this card is really good. 2 Denko. Self-explanatory against all the back row decks, mind decks, etc. 2 Prankatops. So I only played 2 and 2. I originally was playing 3 and 3. The thing was I wanted to cut down on cards because I draw through my whole deck, and you know I can't use multiple of these per turn. So I thought having 2 of each was just the right number. So really solid. And then I played just 1 sphere mode. Originally I had 2. Shout out to my boy Derek Freeman. He convinced me. Originally I only had 2 Lancia, and he was like, "This card is so high impact against Orcus in so many decks, you have to do it." So I cut a sphere mode for this because I draw through my whole deck. I'm going to see this, and I actually sided it in. I never needed it, but it was there as an option against Build-A-Board decks. So that's it for the monsters. And then easily one of the best cards in the side deck is the Twin Twisters. It triggers the dangers and does so much, so really solid. It's insane. This plus Thunderbird is just pop 3. This plus Bigfoot is pop 3. I mean, it's it's ridiculous. And then I played 2 Anti-Spell and an Imperial Order. This is kind of the Curious Griffin thing. You had the option to send these with Curious and then set them with Griffin. So like against Sky Strikers, this is usually game, and this hinders them to the point where they can't play, and then I'll just summon a bunch of monsters and kill them the next turn. So that was kind of the theory. Plus against Pendulum, if I played against any, this is usually game, because if they're not able to clear it or do anything, they can't fundamentally play as much, and then I'm able to just stick a bunch of monsters on the board and kill them. So it was really good. And Order, like I said. And then I side deck Dweller. I did this just for Salamangreat. I only played 1 Salamangreat in Swiss round 7. I didn't need it, but it was there as an option just to solidify that game. Just my matchups real quick. So I played round 1. I 2-0'd Lost World Dino. They really didn't know what the deck did, so it was just, you know, summon the world. Okay, your turn skip. They scoop. They go first game 2. I Lancia them. They end on an Overraptor, and I just summon a bunch of monsters, and that's game. Round 2, I actually played against Lost World Dinos again, and it was a 2-0, pretty much the same thing. Skipped their turn game 1. Game 2, you know, Lancia again. Like, Lancia is so important in this matchup, and it just, you know, ended their turn, and then I just attacked with all my monsters for game. Round 3, I played against Trickstars. That was another 2-0. Round 4, I played against Trickstars. It was another 2-0. Believe it or not, Trickstars is one of the hardest matchups for this deck because Reincarnation plus Droll really does hurt this deck. Like, Droll is really good against this deck because it prevents me from, you know, kind of playing my deck. But my whole theory is if you're not able to kill me after you Droll me, then I'm just going to come back stronger next turn. So that was pretty much the theory with that, and I actually Lancia'd his Reincarnation, so that's what won me that game. Round 5 and round 6, I actually lost both rounds. I lost round 5 to Draco. I got blown out by the Monarchs Erupt, and I got sniped on Dangers, couldn't do anything. Round 6, I lost to Orcust. Same thing, I got sniped on 2 Dangers back-to-back, and when you lose 2 Dangers, you're already down on card economy. It's very hard to come back, especially against a deck like Orcust. I Lancia'd him in game 2. It just wasn't enough after getting sniped, so it is what it is. But then round 7, I played against Salamangreat. I 2-0'd it. Round 8, I played against True King Dinos. I 2-0'd it. And round 9, which was insane, I played against a 60-card Orcus. I ended up winning 2-1. So in game 3, I had 2 Chupacabras and a Dino Wrestler Prankatops on the board. I had cleared his board by, you know, with my danger reveals, and ended up summoning the 2 Chupacabras, and I was doing math on my calculator, and I realized, okay, if I summon a Wee Witch's Apprentice, it's game. It's like exact game with the boost and everything. So I did, thinking, okay, I'm just going to attack and it's game. As soon as I dropped a Wee Witch, he drops Phantasme, which is also a dark, and I thought, oh my god, did I just commit my whole board, my whole hand, and am I about to lose on this last game? And then I realized, okay, and I linked my my 3 guys, my Wee Witch, and my 2 Chupacabras into a Boral Sword. I had Boral Sword and Prankatops, and attacked for game and it was broken. But yeah, that's it, you guys. A shout out to Golden Goats. You already know, best team. Shout out to my brother Akeem at the Grown Man Table, Joe Bogley and Ken Quo for helping me with the deck a lot. I really do appreciate it. And shout out to my boy Michael who lent me the cards and made all this possible, because I just wanted to do it for him. And shout out, of course, to you, John. Thank you so much for the guest upload. Sorry if it's a really long profile. I hope you guys learned a lot about this deck. You could see that there's reasons, even more reasons to hit Saryuja and Dangers. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, be sure to check out my channel, SimplySlim YGO, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.